So, in today's video, I'd like to talk about one of the largest artillery guns used by the Italians in World War I, and that is the Obice da 305/17. So, as always, let's get into the video. For those that didn't know, Obice in Italian translates to howitzer in English. The Obice da 305/17 was a large howitzer that was sometimes classified as a mortar used by the Kingdom of Italy in World War I. It was designed in 1908 by the Armstrong Pozzuoli, who were a subsidiary of the British firm W.G. Armstrong, Whitworth and Co. Limited, located in Pozzuoli, Italy. They played a significant role in the development of Italy's modern arms industry, particularly in the production of artillery. The Obice was manufactured between 1914 and 1917 by Armstrong Pozzuoli and Vickers-Terni, with between 30 and 44 being built.
In 1908, the Italian coastal artillery analysed reports from the Russo-Japanese War of the performance of their Armstrong 288mm howitzers that they had supplied to Japan and found them unsatisfactory. They then turned to companies Armstrong, Krupp, Schneider, St. Chamond and Vickers-Terni for proposals for a 305mm howitzer. The Inspector General of Artillery chose the design from Armstrong Pozzuoli with modifications to the ammunition and loading system. The newly designed artillery was named the Obice da 305/17.
Originally, the Obice da 305/17 Modello 15 was a stationary coastal defence gun, but it was later adapted to a mobile siege artillery role. The 5.8 metre long barrel of the 305/17 was made of steel and was rifled with 60 left-hand consistent twist grooves. Although the overall length of the barrel and breech was 19 times the diameter, the Italians used to calculate the name only based on the length of the barrel, that is, 17 times the diameter. The barrel was inserted into a ring cradle which housed two cylinders of the hydraulic recoil mechanism and the pneumatic recuperator cylinder located above the barrel. The barrel was mounted on trunnions towards the middle, and the wedge-shaped box trail carriage had a large open space behind the breech to allow for recoil, high angles of elevation, and reloading. The weight of the barrel and the breech was around 12.79 tons alone, but with the addition of the field gun and the wheels, the total weight came up to around 33.77 tons. It had an interrupted screw breech and used separate loaded bag charges and projectiles. The maximum range of the gun was 17.6 kilometres, or just under 11 miles, with it being able to fire a single projectile every 5 minutes or a single round every 12 minutes if being used for sustained firing. According to different sources, the Obice used as many as 8 different types of shells, with weights ranging from 295 to 442 kilograms. Because of the large calibre, the projectiles and cartridges were divided into different types. For the next part of the video, I'll be using Obice model images as I cannot find examples of the different varieties, so let's have a look at them. The Obice da 305/17 G Modello 1915. The initial model was a stationary coastal defence gun which rested on a metal platform designed by General Garone, which allowed for 360 degrees of traverse. The G in the gun's designation stood for Garone, for the traverse carriage pivoted in the centre and there were 4 caster wheels at the edges of the carriage. The Obice da 305/17 G Modello 1916. The Modello 1916 was a modified version which was lightened and simplified to allow the gun to be broken down into multiple loads and reassembled in the field to act as a mobile siege gun. For the transport, it was broken down into the barrel, recoil system and ring cradle, top carriage and gun platform. Once on site, a pit could be dug for the pyramid-shaped earth anchor and then assembled with winches and ramps in 24 hours. The Obice da 305/17 G Modello 1917. The Modello 1917 was a mobile version designed to be disassembled and used in a siege artillery role. A gun battery consisted of 2 howitzers with 8 wagons, 2 machine guns for defence, a utility wagon and 5 artillery tractors. The wagon could be towed at 4 to 5 miles per hour with a setup of 24 hours. The Obice da 305/17 DS. These guns were mounted on the same De Stefano Carriage for land use, and the resulting guns were classified by their size in millimeters, 305, their length in calibers, 17, and lastly by their carriage range, DS, which stood for De Stefano. The Di Stefano carriage was a clever but strange-looking monstrosity which looked like something like a child's four-wheeled toy horse when the gun barrel was elevated. The DS in its name refers to its designer, artillery officer Antonio de Stefano. The carriage was a large four-wheeled box-trail design with two non-steerable wheels on the front and two castring wheels at the rear. The wheels were fitted with detachable grouses designed by Major Crespino Bonagenti for traction on soft ground, and were towed in one piece by a Piave River artillery tractor. When not on the move, the grouses were removed and the steel wheels rode on an inclined set of steel rails when in a firing position. The steel rails were mounted on a firing platform made of wooden beams which allowed the gun 360 degrees of traverse. When the gun fired, recoil which was not absorbed by the recoil mechanism was transmitted to the wheels, and the carriage rolled up the incline rails and then rolled back into its firing position. The box trail carriage was tall and wide enough that the breech of the gun was accessible at high angles of elevation without a pit being dug, and the gun crew had a bucket and hoist for ammunition handling. For traverse, the rails were rotated with the carriage on top of them. This system was much simpler than previous types and transported in only two loads. The Di Stefano carriage could be towed into place and required minimal setup. It was, however, very heavy and large, which limited its practicality. Now let's talk about the service of the Obice. The Obice 305/17 saw extensive service during the First World War, where it was used by Italian forces on various fronts, most notably against Austro-Hungarian fortifications along the Isonzo Front. The howitzer's ability to deliver powerful shells over a long distance made it a valuable asset in Italy's artillery arsenal, contributing to the breaking of entrenched enemy positions and supporting infantry assaults with preparatory bombardments. The Obice 305/17 gained the title of the most powerful artillery piece used by the Kingdom of Italy during the war. The range and firepower of these weapons meant that they were in very high demand wherever they were employed. Some were lost in battle, but they were of such high importance that new examples were built to replace them. They were regularly used in batteries of two howitzers, with a number of batteries usually assembled in one area. During the Second Battle of Piave, for example, 29 guns had been gathered together. Here, they were used to shell the rear staging areas of the Austro-Hungarian forces, essentially stifling the attack before it had even begun. Here, we could see a large group of men pull a 305/17 howitzer carriage into position in the Val Roccalana Valley. The Obice da 305/17 was commissioned as a coastal defence gun in 1914. 12 were placed in La Spezia, 4 in Maddalena, and 4 were in Messina. In October of 1917, 38 pieces were available in the three versions. A number of guns were disassembled and redeployed to the Alpine front to act as siege artillery. After the loss of 9 guns following the Battle of Caporetto, another 18 were produced between the 1st of July 1918 and the 30th of June 1919, thus reaching the total of 44 guns, of which 8 were in reserve. Here, you can see an Obice 305/17 Modello 16 captured by the Austrians in a village near Udine, which was taken by Jindřich Basicki. And in this picture, we can see an Obice 305/17 Modello 16 howitzer in retreat after the Battle of Caporetto. Following on from World War I, the Obice 305/17 DS continued to serve in the Italian army. However, the quantity had reduced significantly, likely due to the barrels being worn out from usage. However, the thing with large caliber weapons is that they have a very long lifespan. If it can throw a large projectile a reasonable distance and there are stocks of ammunition available, it can still cause plenty of damage. Thus, by the time the Second World War rolled around, the 305/17 was still in Italian service. Here you could see a 305/17 barrel on the Austro-Italian border. This destroyed barrel may be the victim of overusage. In 1937, 5 of the guns were sold to Franco's National Army in the Spanish Civil War. During the Second World War, the weapon saw some action, but due to their large size and weight, it proved difficult for them to keep up with the much faster movements of this war. When the Second World War broke out in 1939, there were 27 Obice da 305/17 in the Italian Army, equipped with the 540th Company of the 22nd Artillery Regiment of the Royal Border Guard, 2 companies of the 24th Artillery Regiment, and the artillery of the 4th Army Group. During the French campaign, these artillery pieces were used in the defence of Naples and the coastal areas of Sicily. According to other sources, during the Second World War, there were 16 guns on a shielded coastal mount that were supplied to 4 coastal batteries of the Regia Marina, manned by the Maritime Artillery Militia. And finally, by the end of the war, a few of the 305/17s had been positioned as coastal defence weapons, bringing their service life full circle back to their original role, and were eventually retired in 1959. That now brings us to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. There isn't much out there about this gun, so I thought it would be interesting to cover. Funny enough, the thing that inspired me to make this video was seeing a coloured photo of this gun on a Facebook page, and it looked interesting, so after doing some research, I found out that it hadn't been covered much, so I thought I would do it the honour. If you liked the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and drop a comment below. I've also started Instagram and Twitter, and no, I'm not calling it X Elon Musk. I just wanted to say that I'm currently about to start work on my biggest project to date, which is a castle that has had quite a few videos done on it, but I plan to cover it in every aspect like I do with all my videos, more than anyone else. So as always, I'll see you in the next one.